Hey folks, I'm Isaac, and I am apparently extremely alone on this episode. But this is Make That Game, where we pitch the latest, the greatest new video game ideas that they're ideas. Have fun with them, you know? We love it. Little music plays, and then. So, yeah, just an Isaac episode today. I'm going to change things up. I'm going to go full Isaac mode. I'm going to go, I don't know. I'm just going to get wacky with it. I'm going to get goofy with it. I'm going to change a lot of things up. Uh do do my own path. There's not going to be any banter. Yeah, so it's going to be a super exciting episode. Claire is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but she can edit it out if I'm not. But she's doing volunteer work for a film festival this weekend. So, helping out with that, helping kids make movies, and then they're gonna show them all off and stuff. It's gonna be great. So I'm figuring this out solo, and she was able to wrangle a guest when she had to do a quote unquote solo episode. But me, no, I'm too shy for that. I can actually only communicate with people that I have known for 6 or more years. For the first 6 years, silence, utter silence. It just doesn't happen. I cannot use words. But here's one of the change ups. Have I got a game idea for y'all? Okay? Yeah, I'm going right into the game ideas, and then we'll see what else I do completely out of order. If you like the order, we'll see if we can continue that. But yeah, so I'm gonna pitch this idea to you all out there, listeners. It's called Extreme Twist Ball. And I was also thinking of Extreme Tornado Ball or something Spin Ball, but nothing really got a good vibe. But I decided to go with Extreme Twist Ball. So in this game, it is a multiplayer like sports kind of game, uh, heavily reliant on physics. Is going to be two-dimensional platformer style level. So if you need a frame of reference, Super Smash Brothers, Rivals of Ether, or what are some other common ones? Shoot, I forget the name of it. Brawlhalla. So you know, e- different levels have different layouts of platforms that you can jump around on. And then each level has a number of goals depending on how many players there are playing, because it's one-on-one competitive style stuff. Uh, well, also has teams. I don't know why I phrased it as one-on-one, because that implies every man for yourself. But yeah, it's a competitive sports game. The gimmick here is that you contort your character. And now, if you're watching on YouTube, or yeah, watching on YouTube or Spotify video and not listening on Spotify or whatever, I'm doing some visuals, but like you contort your character's arms and legs and get them into a pose, and then you jump around. Um, and as you jump, your character spins around, and the force of the spin hitting the ball is what knocks it around. And your goal is to get it into another, or into your specific goal, knock it around from enemies, and just get the sickest twists. And I mean, that's basically the entire game idea. I guess I should have picked a longer one for a solo recording session. Ooh, the autofocus. Wow. Okay, cam. Okay, webcam. But yeah, I envision it having different levels and then different team types, character customization entirely graphical. So like you're not going to be able to like unlock longer arms or anything like that, because I want everyone to have an even playing level. This is supposed to be like a wacky, silly game, not one that you dedicate 8 hours a day of your life of and go pro. God, I wish I could go pro. Has anyone else ever just thought about like Apex Legends and like League of Legends and stuff, and how there's like professional players that like they play big tournaments and then they also stream and people just love watching them. And God, if only that could be me, that would be so sick. But this is not that kind of game. No one's going to get famous for playing extreme twist ball. I guess to dive a little deeper into how you pose yourself, right? Because this is going to be a live, real time game. So you're not going to be able to like pause the game and like intricately pose yourself. No, each of your joints is going to have a different button associated with it. And it's only going to like extend or retract as fast as whatever the game is. So you can't just like quickly swap to like useful poses. No, you have to, as you're like running your character forward, stretch out their arm and then time a jump so that the arm like actually flaps against the ball. And to be clear, every single jump is going to involve your character spinning wildly, like like Sonic the Hedgehog. He jumps, he spins. You can't just do like a normal jump. Um, yeah, Extreme Twist Ball. Tell me what you think about it. Man, it's hard without the riff. Like this, I feel like Claire would have a couple questions to ask, or like any co-host would like dive a little deeper, pick up on something that I forgot to mention. But yeah, this is what I've got. So I'm going to tell y'all about some news. Steam Next Fest started on October 3rd, goes until October 10th. At the time of this recording, it's October 8th, so 2 days left by the time you actually get to listen to this. It's going to be over. I've downloaded a list of games, or I've downloaded demos that intrigued me from Steam Next Fest. And for those of you who weren't here, last time that a Steam Next Fest happened, basically they give you a bunch of demos of upcoming games, early access games, etc., etc. They put them all in one area for you to scroll through, feeds them to you by like different genres and stuff, and you can kind of look at what you might be interested in, play demos of them, and make your wish list. And if you don't know, if you wish list a game that you're interested on Steam, it really helps the developers out a whole lot. So like these kinds of events are actually huge, because if a game jumps from like 10 wish lists to 100 wish lists, the algorithm uses number of wish lists to kind of figure out how much to show this game to people. So if you have the time, if you love games, just go through, check out stuff that are on like the Next Fest. Go to your fancy indie developer Twitters, etc., and find out like what they're working on and wish list their games. And it doesn't really hurt to have a bunch of games on your wish list. It helps the developers. Go on with it. Yeah, the games that I downloaded that I'm going to try out from Next Fest, there is Thirsty Suitors, which is a game that I've been looking at for a while. It's like a adventure RPG kind of game where, from what I understand of it, and I haven't played the demo yet, so I'm not sure how accurate this is, but just from the promotional material I've seen already, it's kind of like a, if you ever watched the movie or watched the movie or read the graphic novel comic books for Scott Pilgrim, it seems pretty similar to that, only instead of fighting a new person's exes, you're like battling your own exes. And I believe it's like a story about like moving on, but it's also about what appears to be an Indian. And oh God help me if that's wrong, if I'm completely mischaracterizing this based on, I don't know, stereotypes. But you it's also heavily tied into like this culture. Yeah, one of the taglines, it's battle your exes, disappoint your parents, find yourself. So the parents and like family and aunties seem to play a pretty big role in this game. So it's looked exciting. It looks like it's got a quirky, fun theme. I like that. Annapurna Interactive is the publisher, and they publish a lot of good indie games. So can't wait to try this one out and see if it lives up to my high expectations. Another game that I checked out was Against the Storm, which, as we know, city builders. I love them. This one's a dark fantasy city builder, and it has humans, beavers, lizards, and harpies. And there was Timberborn, which had the beavers a couple months ago, and this one has beavers and more. Let me go in on that. Excited for that. Wild Frost, published by Chucklefish, another big indie publisher company. This is a card game. And then the one that drew me in the most, that I have never heard of this one, by Daedalic Entertainment, is called Incula Naughty. Incula Naughty. Ink-based strategy game. So you like draw medieval manuscripts. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of like medieval tapestries and stuff, but they've got like weird things in the margins of like people riding snails, or like little monsters that are just like feet with a face and then like a big long tail going over their head, and all kinds of imps and like the worst drawn cat that you've ever seen. But you like use those things in this to kind of forge an army and battle with it. So that's Inculinati. Also excited to try that out. Have not had a chance yet. Oh, more news. No Man's Sky out for Switch as of Friday, so October 7th. Out for Switch, comes with a new big update. Haven't gotten into that yet, but I literally will be playing it as soon as this recording is done. So probably should have done that first, but No Man's Sky update. This one isn't as big for the core game. I believe it does some inventory swaps and Switch availability. And cool. Can't wait to check it out. I'll play it for 12 hours and then wait for the next big update. But besides that, my actual gaming, if you remember last episode, I believe it was, I was playing Temtem. I tried playing it a little bit more and I completely gave up. I was like, no, Temtem is not for me. I was excited when it first came out for that Pokemon, not Pokemon fix. I'm going to stick to Pokemon, probably. I played more Wandering Village. I'm going to actually honk and bonk that this episode. So I'll save that for later. And then I played a demo for a game called Ardenfall, and it is a first-person RPG. Seems very inspired by like Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. It's got like kind of a weird setting. You wake up in a cave, fight your way through it against like fungus monsters. There's a bunch of items to collect, a bunch of stats. You know, classic old school dungeon crawler RPG, grindy. Well, not really grindy, but like crunchy fun. One thing that I will say that I don't like about it is that right at the beginning, like you walk out of the first room, like you had just fallen into a cave and you're like, oh, wake up with a headache. And you walk through and a pop up says, you hear monsters nearby. And you look around and I see what are probably monsters. So I run over and I start fighting them. And after I kill like the first two, I walk up to the third one and it's like, do you want to pet the cute animal? And I was like, what? If this isn't the monster I heard, what? Why did you give me that pop up? Definite bonk. But other than that, it was a pretty cool game. I'm gonna play it a little more before I dive too deep into it. And then finally, I finally installed Crusader Kings 3, and oh my god! So I'm gonna talk about sneak preview. I'm gonna talk about in Wandering Village how if it's really slow. Crusader Kings 2 was really slow, even on like top speed. Like it wasn't really playable for long at top speed, in my opinion. And even at top speed, it felt like it still went pretty slow. Crusader Kings 3 on normal mode, it's just like trucking along. Years are passing, things are popping up all the time, battles happen way faster than I remember, but I loved it. I had a romance story, so the queen of the character that I started as, like the wife, I definitely caught her cheating in an event, like committing adultery, but like my options allowed me to like pick one where my character was like completely naive about it and did not realize what it was. I decided to try to woo the wife back. So I went on this like multi-year quest, which involved me like dueling people that were besmirching her honor and like buying her gifts and stuff. And at the end of it, I see a man sneak into her room, like through a window at night, and I come in and I find the man like with a knife to her throat, and I kill the man, and she gets mad at me, and I'm like, "Whew, what? What?" And then my king waged a war, that because I was an ally slash he was my king. He waged a war that was impossible for him to win. He was completely overwhelmed within basically real time minutes, and I lost the entire game because that's how Crusader Kings goes sometimes. When your king gets conquered, his lands get divvied up, and your character's story ends. Apparently, but anyways, the honks and bonks for Wandering Village by Stray Fawn Studio. So I really like the theme. The well, let me go into this. If you did not listen to one of the previous episodes where I explained what Wandering Village is, it is a city builder. Except the quirk is you are building a city on the back of a giant animal because the world is filled with toxins. So like one of the only ways to really survive long term is to be on the back of this giant migrating animal. So you have the normal city builder stuff, but instead of like normal seasons or other like events, like you're stuck in one location and then seasons happen to you, there's this giant animal that you can sort of control, and I'll get into that. That is just like wandering on a migration pattern. So it can walk through clouds of toxins. It can walk through deserts. It can walk through cold mountains. It can walk past other villages that you can trade with. Sometimes it sleeps, and the air on its back is like one level of toxicity, but closer to the ground, it's another level. So when it goes to sleep and curls up in its bed, now you're stuck for an unknown amount of time while it sleeps, like in the toxic level, and you have to figure out how to survive that. And then it wakes up, and then you're in the safety zone, and it walks through a burning patch, and all your crops die, etc., etc. You can research and then build different items that allow you to interact with it in different ways, including you can get a doctor to heal it because it also is affected by the toxins. So you're not only managing your city, your own villagers, you're managing the health of this monster. You can shoot food that you harvest from its back over a trebuchet, so it lands in front of it and it eats the food. You can get injectors to inject it with like sleepy medicine and like adrenaline medicine and stuff so that it keeps going. And then you can get a horn and you can kind of tell it like which paths to take. Like if you look at the world map, you'll see like intersections and forks in the road and stuff, and you can give input on which way you think that it should go based on like what your scouts can see on the map around you. But if it doesn't trust you, which you can hurt its trust by doing various things, like you can mine stone off of spikes on its back, and that hurts it, so it'll trust you less. But if you feed it, it trusts you more. You can do various other things. You can, I think, pet it. Like you can learn to pet it, but I did not get to that point. But yeah, so yes, theme, love it. It's it the toxic world, the giant animal on the back adds a completely unique factor to city building that I haven't seen in any other game. Uh, like I've seen various weather effects, but I've never seen weather effects implemented in like this kind of way, and especially not in a way where you can like control it by building up trust with the animal that you're on the back of and then telling it, hey, I want you to go left instead of right because my scouts see that there's a horrible blizzard on the right. And then, it goes, oh, I don't trust you enough, so I'm just going to go the way that I wanted to go and walks straight through the blizzard and all your people die. Oh, well. So, beautiful theme. It's got really nice, majestic, like epic music. Like you are on the back of this creature and the sound design picks that up. Graphics are cool. The big monster that you're on the back of, 3D. All your buildings and all the resources and all your people on its back are 2D. And then this makes it so the game performs really well on like a number of systems, because it's relatively low cost. It can put a lot of time doing the various calculations behind the scenes that it needs to do. I really like the additional layer that the Anbu, it's called, the giant monster, adds because I've managed so many cities. I've built tons of cities, and I've dealt with so many citizens, and I've done walls, I've done armies, I've managed the needs. I've never managed the need of the ground, the earth that I'm building the city on. That is a cool little twist that you don't see anywhere else. Yeah, this feels like one of those things where if this goes good, we're gonna see a number of city builder games like come out and kind of take a similar twist on the concept. Um, Bongs. It felt incredibly slow paced, even when I'm amping up the speed. Um, Slow paced not only in like things in the game happen slowly, but like at a meta level progression is slow. It felt like it took forever to gain any new villagers because of the way that you get new villagers. I don't think that there's like a birthing mechanic. You don't just naturally increase the amount of villagers you have. It seems like you only get them by picking them up from the road. And if your Anbu doesn't walk across any, like, and you don't guide it towards walking over them, you don't get new ones. You can build a certain building that you can send scout excursions out, and I believe that you can send them to settlements and to nomad groups to recruit directly instead of waiting for them to come to you. But that was pretty resource intensive and work intensive, and I just did not have the extra villagers to spare doing those kinds of things. So it was kind of like a chicken and the egg problem where I couldn't do X because I didn't have Y, but in order to have Y, I needed to do X. Um, and it felt like that in a lot of places. I felt like I had a meager amount of villagers stretched very thin at all times, and it wasn't fun. I would have liked if I had a pretty more constant stream of villagers, because as the village grows, you get to do more interesting things. You get to have more projects going at once, and like you have a little bit of resilience to um, setbacks. Like if the toxicity comes along and poisons a bunch of your villagers, the ones that are taken out of action, you can kind of like scrabble. You can say, okay, I need to focus on the doctor. I don't need to be cutting down trees right now, so I'll drop all the wood cutting jobs and I'll have people focus on the doctors, and then I'll stop like building any buildings. And because I've got 12 people sick, and between the wood cutting and the builder jobs, if I eliminate all those, that's that's the 12 jobs of sick people. So now everything else is running at full efficiency while they get treated and healed. When you're dealing with like the exact amount of people that you need to man the farms that you have and man the doctor, and then you get sick, you're like, okay, so I either starve or I can't heal people and the sickness spreads. Fun. Yeah. Uh, Another bonk. So besides feeling, so that was it feeling slow. The second bonk is how luck based it all kind of felt. I did not encounter any toxicity or like bad weather until 4 or 5 hours in. And one of my friends who downloaded the game after hearing about it, maybe from me, hopefully from me. I hope I'm an influencer. Friend picked up the game and like got toxicity in like the first 45 minutes, and it like doom spiraled his village. So that is a pretty big swing if there's like a run reset that early in the game and there's very little you can do about it at that point. It's like a lot of restarting, and a lot of people like, especially me, like to spend a lot of time with each of their villages and like build it up and watch it grow, and that would be a handy dandy thing. The final bonk, so it doesn't show the trust level in the UI that I could see. So the Anbu apparently didn't trust me, and I didn't know that. So I built a hornblower, and I wasted a bunch of resources on it. And every time I try to blow the horn, it was like it doesn't trust you enough. And I was like, but what? How do I know when it trusts me or not? Like, how do I know when having this item is a complete waste? That was kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have seen the Anbu trust in the UI somewhere that I could access. Other than that, here's another honk. The UI shows in the corner your resources, like a quick view of the resources. And as you gain access to new types of resources, it expands the ones that you can see. So, like in other strategy games like Warcraft 3, well, any Warcraft, any Warcraft game, Age of Empires, etc., it'll show you like food, wood, gold, stone, whatever resources the game has. But this game has so many resources. I've seen a lot of city builder games that just they're like, "Oh, we've got too many resources. There will be a special UI you can go to and you can see all your resources, but like we won't put a quick view up in the corner for you because there's just too many to keep track of." But this, it shows you all the ones that you've got, and I think that's a really nice in between. Like I could see it getting, as you get in the late game with tons and tons and tons of different resource types, maybe it being unwieldy, but it was great. You start off with just like wood, stone, and food, and then you can make wood into lumber, and you can make stone into blocks. And then once you start making lumber, boom, now you've got how many lumber pieces you have up in the corner. Fantastic. That is great. For some reason, I feel like I don't see that very often. Definite honk. Good job, Stray Fawn Studio. But going back to the bonk, I started having an emergency at one point where I needed mushrooms, I believe, to heal sick villagers. And the Anbu food is also mushrooms, but I wasn't actively making Anbu food. But because the Anbu food building had a stock of most, if not all, of my mushrooms in it, the doctors wouldn't take any out of it to make medicine. So the toxicity went out of control and destroyed my entire village, and I lost everything. And I didn't realize until it was too late that like I had to disable the building, the Anbu food building entirely, even though it didn't have any workers assigned to it. It didn't count as disabled, so it was holding on all the food. I had to specifically disable it in order to access the mushrooms, and by then all the doctors were sick. And here's a kind of related, similar, technically another bonk. When people got sick, they stayed at their current job. So when all the doctors were sick, I had to assign new people to be doctors instead of the game being like, okay, sick people are a different category. Um, like they count as unemployed, so let's find new people to fill the doctor roles. And I understand how they couldn't do that, because you would need to also implement like job priorities in order for it to be satisfying. Because like if you're having multiple emergencies at once, you don't want your farmers to be like, oh well, time to become a doctor because the doctor got sick, and then you run out of food and starve to death. But if you could set various priorities and be like, all right, always have doctors employed and always have farmers employed unless there's not enough to have both, and then you like set like doctor as number one priority because I toxicity is bad. So that's my honks and bonks for Wandering Village by Stray Fawn Studio. Absolutely recommend it. Definitely play it. It's nice, relaxing city builder with some twists and turns, and it's good stuff. Now I'm sitting here looking like, so I've been recording for 33 minutes, right? And normally we would have a rapid fire round around here, about right here, but I don't know how fun a solo rapid fire round would be. Like I could fumble through it, and I don't know, without riffing off of each other. I don't know if this is going to be good. So here's what I'll do. I'll try one. And we'll see if it's good enough to be in the video or not. And what I think would be extremely funny would be is if this entire bit makes it to the episode, but then there is no rapid fire round. So like clearly did not make it in. It was clearly not funny enough. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna generate some words. Generate random words. All right, starting the timer. My 3 words are hill, annual, and draft. So, this is a real-time strategy game where you are playing King of the Hill specifically, and you have to draft citizens to do so. Well, okay, actually, without like competing ideas, here's where it falls apart. I'm stopping this. Boom. Here's where it falls apart. With competing ideas, I just say the first idea that comes to mind and go, okay, good. There's no pushback on it. Yeah, okay. I see why this is. All right, folks. Thanks for walking through that one with me. Um, okay. Thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media, including Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Make That Game Pod. And you can email us at makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com. You can engage with our posts. Oh, we also have a YouTube, which might be where you're listening to this / watching this right now. We need 100 subscribers to get a vanity URL to make that easy to communicate to you. If you search in quotation marks, make that game, you can find us. Please like, subscribe, comment, etc. We love the engagement. We love receiving questions. You can email us or comment questions. And thank you for allowing me to stumble through this solo. I hope this was a good time for everyone. I feel pretty good about it. So thanks for listening. And remember, folks, if you liked what you heard, we encourage you to go out there and make that game.